As I understand clinically assisted nutrition and hydration, that's about extra measures to support people with fluids intravenously or feeding people in an artificial way.
It's basically anything that you wouldn't otherwise eat and drink naturally, that you wouldn't put in or drink naturally. So anything that involves a drip or a tube or some form of feeding is regarded as artificial feeding and hydration.
You always have to weigh up the pros and cons, whether or not you make the ultimate decision to use it or not. And it's something that's often a little bit neglected, I think.
It factors in a way that it's challenging, I think, for professionals, it's challenging for patients and their families. A lot of questions arise about, do you continue that? And sometimes do you start it when people haven't had it before?
It's not as straightforward as it should be from the sheer volume of people involved. But it is paramount, and especially at that sort of time, to give a consistent, clear message and provide, but ensure that everyone is being looked after.
My father got no mouth care, and that resulted in him, goodness knows what, ending up in the back of his throat. It caused chaos a bit for us, we would be panicking, not knowing what to do next.
Yeah.
And who's in charge of what.
There are burdens associated with having artificial nutrition and hydration.
Minimising the amount of things you do to somebody is one of my guiding principles. You can give fluids under the skin, and so that can be a useful thing as well. One of the potential problems with giving people fluid is they don't actually need that much. When the body is shutting down, they don't need it, and so it can very readily go to the wrong bits and make a situation worse.
Often the decisions just aren't talked about, and it's just assumed that if they're dying, then that's pretty much it. There's no question about the hydration or nutrition.
Is that a bad thing?
It is that it's ignored. It's not a bad thing necessarily that people aren't given nutrition or hydration, but it's a bad thing that it's just not considered.
I think there's an element of almost normalising it, so that this is actually something we need to talk about, just to get to understand your views. Things for me is the education on what exactly we're talking about. Hydration and nutrition. Of course I'd want that, but without people really understanding the implications.
I think getting a second opinion is really healthy. Even if you're entirely sure of your opinion, if there's any suggestion that the family are looking for that, or friends are looking for that, or there's any doubt in your mind, I think it's very healthy to ask a colleague, even informally. It doesn't have to be someone you go and seek out, but I work with 2 other consultants. I work with a whole range of consultants, so you've got colleagues there. I mean, a second opinion sounds like it's a fixed thing, but I think it's anything from an informal thing through to asking someone to come, through to involving a whole series of people, an ethics committee or something, if everyone is struggling. And sometimes it's appropriate to do that. But on a general informal level, I think it's really healthy.
Being told stuff and being informed is really important. We didn't think, we're going to save my father's life, but nobody talked to us. Nobody approached us until the palliative care nurse came in 4 days before he died.
Maybe it's about giving space to the individual so that they can voice their innermost fears or their biggest concerns about the situation that they're in at that moment. So it's whatever question that patient wants to ask at that moment, isn't it? Or that family.
One of the things that may not be on the radar of people when they're talking about no more food and drink is it does represent end of the line and maybe end of hope in terms of the patient's life expectancy. But it is also the end of the line of some of the function of the person who's the carer might have been part of helping with food and drink for a very long time, even in the hospice or in hospital. And then so that role's taken away, and then you have your loved one waiting to die, if you like. And then everything that you've been focusing on can suddenly hit you. So that time and attention around the person who's having to watch, who might have been busying themselves, helping, is just something to think about. That's all.